It's Wednesday, January 14th, 2015. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, Tomm Moores' Song of the Sea.
Ooh, the Song of the Sea.
You probably haven't been able to see it because you don't live in New York.
Ooh, the wee suckies.
Let's do this. So sometimes you get into those YouTube ghettos where like you click on a video and you watch it and then all the recommendations are the same thing. Like you've stumbled into
a meme.
Yep, an event horizon.
Like that do.
I don't even remember what that's called.
Me either, but
yeah, because I was looking for that the other day and I don't remember what that meme is called.
I'm sure
but you know
YouTube would recommend that to you just for being you.
See, you'd think that, but it didn't. It's too old.
Just search for some related things and you'll find it.
I found crackle sauce and all the blank sauces again, but I didn't find that thing.
Okay.
But so I clicked on a clip that was a clip from The Critic because I saw it and I thought,
how many episodes
wow.
does that thing have?
How
many episodes does that show have?
The Critic?
Yeah.
The Critic
Not many. It only had like 2 seasons, right?
Yeah, 94, 95. And then I guess that's some online stuff. So not that many episodes. 23 total.
Yeah, you can watch that really easily.
Yeah. So I click on this clip. That was just a clip from The Critic. And it was hilarious. And I remembered The Critic. And I remembered watching it. And it was the show that I just literally forgotten about in the modern era.
Yeah, that shit holds up. It's not forgotten about. Other people remember it.
I'm saying I had forgotten about it.
Oh, okay.
So Emily comes in. I'm like, hey, you remember The Critic? And she was like, I never watched The Critic.
Mm-hmm.
So
I never watched the whole thing.
I did.
Okay.
I watched The Critic.
I've seen enough of it.
I watched it as it aired on ABC.
Wow.
I was really into it. I was really into like animation stuff in general. I mean,
yeah,
my family,
but I still didn't watch The Critic.
Why not?
It
was on like prime time.
I watched enough of it. I was doing other stuff.
I mean, I watched the original pre-Simpsons Simpsons.
Mm-hmm.
So The Critic, well, Emily never seen it, so I go look for an episode, and you don't even need to pirate it because every single episode is just on YouTube with a bunch of views, and no one seems to care.
All right.
I don't think they're legit. They're mostly uploaded by a guy called The Critic Fan.
I mean, there's a Gundam channel that has legal Gundams on YouTube.
Yeah, it's always hard to say though, because remember the whole Crunchyroll thing.
This one's definitely legal. It's like Bandai's channel.
So we started watching The Critic, and because I hadn't watched it since I was a little kid, I notice things nowadays that I didn't notice back then.
Of course.
So, in my opinion now, this is kind of like a geek bite of The Critic, having seen it again recently. One, it holds up real well. It's really funny.
I could have predicted that.
But two, it's basically the precursor to Family Guy.
Well, no, I mean,
in terms of the style of animated comedy that The Critic has, The Critic was way ahead of its time. No other animated show did the kind of humor that it did. You know the Family Guy thing of, wow, that's just like the time I would ever, and then it cuts to like a complete non sequitur? The Critic did that regularly.
The Simpsons did that regularly.
The Simpsons didn't do it that regularly.
They did it enough, right?
What season did The Simpsons do that? The Simpsons was a
I can find
sitcom.
you Simpsons clips of this.
Yes, I could too. What year were they from?
I don't know, but
yeah, because this, Scott, was 1994.
Right.
I was in middle school.
Anyways, what happened is, right, The Simpsons was basically the first mainstream, widely broadcast adult TV animation in the U.S. And it was so big.
Well, multiple critics say that this was the precursor to Family Guy on Wikipedia, so fuck you.
Whatever. So from The Simpsons, right, because it was so successful, many, people tried to make animation for adults on U.S. television. And it eventually, over the 90s, was the biggest time of it.
This was a golden era of that.
Yes, the golden era was then.
Because remember, this shit was on prime time.
Right, and now, Simpsons is still on prime time on
but
Sunday.
Back then, a cartoon being prime time, not
Simpsons
common.
was originally on prime time.
Yeah.
So, but now today it pretty much has gotten to the point where only Fox does it other than Adult Swim.
Yeah.
And that's it, right? So, None of the other networks even bother trying to compete in the animation realm for adults at night. And all Saturday, they don't even try for kids
All right, here's
either.
a quote here. Of all the projects completed by ex-SNL players, The Critic was the most fully realized, hilarious, and heartwarming. It took its cues from Woody Allen movies like Annie Hall in Manhattan and offered up a style of random abstract humor that wouldn't be seen again on television until Family Guy. So watching it, Emily, sort of unpointedly, without me saying anything, said, "Wow, this is like a good version of Family Guy." So that's why I was thinking about Family Guy. What's interesting, though, is that it makes a ridiculous number of pop culture references that I think would be lost on pretty much anyone who would watch this show again.
Yeah.
But it ends up working, much like how
because
Shrek...
you know the references.
No, because I didn't even know a lot of the references because I don't know a lot of actors' names now. So why would I have known them in the 90s?
I know more 90s ones than 2000s ones.
Oh, like Arnold. That's also 80s. But what I noticed is that that stuff in The Critic was a lot like that stuff in Bugs Bunny cartoons, in Merry Melodies. There are jokes there if you recognize the caricatures of famous people. But if you don't, the jokes hold up on their own anyway, so it's fine. And if you're smart, you at least recognize that thing in the background is obviously a caricature of someone famous from that era. And you can infer something about them from the way they're handled. So The Critic, I don't know. I watched a bunch of it, and I'm going to watch all of it again. And it's really interesting to see how many modern animated comedy shows basically are taking a lot of cues from what was really pioneered, at least in the US, with The Critic, which didn't actually do that well. Didn't last that long.
No.
I also remember that John Lovitz existed. I kind of forgot about him, too.
What is he doing?
I don't even know. Is he alive?
I don't know.
All right, let's see. Born 1957, SNL. Wow. His summary ends with did SNL until 1990, and then it doesn't say anything else.
Did he just retire and go to the beach? Because good job, dude.
Trying to find that out. There's a lot.
You deserve it.
Broadway. He does a podcast, I guess.
Good job, dude. You deserve it.
Yeah. He's a funny guy. But so while I was watching all those critics, something else came up in the recommendations. Duckman.
That's another 90s adult TV show.
Duckman is pretty fucking forgotten.
Right.
So, Duckman also almost holds up. And I'm going to talk about it separately because I'm going to watch a bunch of it and then talk about Duckman.
Duckman is somewhere in between The Critic, The Tick,
and like our Crumb.
LucasArts adventure games.
Yeah. So there was an adventure game for Duckman.
Oh, was there?
Which was supposed to be released in the U.S., but the production company went bankrupt. It eventually somehow got released in Germany and South Korea and nowhere else, and it is one of the rarest PC adventure games ever published.
I'm sure you can download it, no problem.
Yeah, I'm going to look into that. But what I can say is that watching Duckman, I had forgotten about Duckman, and I watched it like religiously when I was a little kid. So I started like unlocking memories in my brain as I watched this episode of like just what the deal was with this show.
The pig guy?
And the two-headed son.
Yeah.
And I also saw a lot of future Family Guy echoes, actually. In terms of... So, the older brother in Family Guy reminds me of the older brother in Duckman. They even have the same kind of voice acting style. Anyway... I'll talk about Duckman another time.
If you look at old arts, you see where new arts got their shit from.
But Duckman, no one thinks about today.
I was listening to this Beethoven, and I was like, oh, man. I've heard that music before, recently. At the record store, on the radio.
But watching Duckman with Emily, who had never seen it before, was a series of, what the fuck? Why does that kid have two heads? Where is this set? Who are these? Wow. Okay.
Well, didn't you have to start at the beginning to understand a lot of this stuff?
Yeah, just random fucking episode.
Yeah, that's not going to work. That show doesn't work with the random episode.
And then I remembered that Duckman was voiced by Jason Alexander, basically playing a fucked up version of George Costanza as a duck.
Yes, that is correct.
So, yeah. I've been watching a lot of animation lately, but not a lot of anime.
All right. Well, the big news lately is people are going nuts over the 2-sentence rumor right? I don't know if it's. I don't think it's.
Oh, it's legit. There is a IMDb page already. So I'm assuming this movie.
That means it's confirmed.
I'm assuming this movie is already in theaters.
Well, the live-action Akira never happened, even though it could.
The live-action Ava never happened. The 4 or 5 times there were rumors that it was
live-action
happening.
Cowboy Bebop with Keanu Reeves never happened.
Thank the gods.
But it appears that the live-action Ghost in the Shell for the 700th attempt is more likely to happen than any of those have ever been likely to happen.
I still think the percent chance of this happening is between 5 and 6.
But there is a name of famous action girl, actor lady.
You don't know who that is, do you?
I mean, okay, so
we just talked about her before we started recording the show. I said her name.
So the name is Scarlett Johansson because I can read it on IMDb, and all I know about her is that she is a famous actress.
I suspect she was cast in this specifically because she plays Black Widow, and she's a woman, and that's it.
So she is like Hollywood's current famous action actress person.
Yep.
So if you have an action part for a person who does not have a penis, this is the person that you hire.
So should we talk about how we expect this will be bad, or we should talk about all the meta reasons
Well,
it's
Disney's
bad?
doing it, first of all. Right? So problem number 1, despite the fact that the Major is a robot, the Major is not white, and Scarlett Johansson is problem number 1.
Wait, so are you telling me that the Pharaoh wasn't white, Moses isn't white, that
Yul Brynner wasn't white. Not that he
you
was,
know about the remake, right?
Yul Brynner was not.
I'm not talking about Yul Brynner.
I don't know any other Ten Commandments.
You're gonna be real sad.
They made another 10 Commandments that has white people in it.
There's a movie. We'll talk about that separately. That's happening.
Not that Yul Brynner is Egyptian. Not that Moses. I mean, Charlton Heston is white and Moses was not. Right. But Yul Brynner.
Scott. Exodus, gods and kings.
Is this like the 300 of 10 Commandments?
It seems to be. Let's see. So Moses is played by Christian Bale.
All right.
And yes, I leave it at that.
Let my Batman go.
All right, look, here's the cast. Look, white.
Why not hire some Egyptian people?
What?
Are any of them at least white Jews? And I mean, you could hire Israelis too.
Wow, I did not realize until just now this was directed by Ridley Scott. Huh. Anyway. So it is not necessarily wrong to ignore race when casting. It just so happens that whenever they ignore race for casting, it's always in favor of everybody being white.
Yeah.
Why? Well, we know why.
If the Major was black, we couldn't really say anything about that.
Yeah. But
and it always happens to be, right? It's like they've actually, Hollywood seems to less often whitewash black people. Not that it doesn't happen. It happens all the goddamn time.
Yeah, but it's like
But they whitewash the Asian people slightly more.
That they do.
Than the black people, who are also whitewashed.
So even what I've noticed in general is that ignoring racism and all the other issues that are clustered around this, whenever there's a movie like this that has, like, it is set in a country with a specific culture and those sorts of things, and they whitewash it, usually it's a sign that it's going to be pretty shitty, independent of any racism.
Yeah, well, okay, so going based on the history of everything Hollywood has ever done ever, and the fact that it's Disney, and et cetera, basically, we can assume if the original Ghost in the Shell, if we consider that to be the middle of the gray area, flat gray, right? 8888888.
Right.
And we consider Ghost in the Shell 2 Innocence to be black, 0000000. This is going to be white. FFF.
So the other thing is, I've thought about this a lot, actually. I have this idea that, Sanctuary, the best manga we recommend that you guys just can't ever read because it's been out of print forever.
I'm sure you can get it on the internet.
Yeah, you can pirate it, but there's no legit way to get it printed.
Kill Rim and steal it from his house.
Yeah. Part of the problem why you can't get it is because we talked about it in Geeknights a long time ago.
We bought every copy we saw in the Northeast US.
I have 2.5 complete sets of it just because, and our listeners from the old days probably bought all the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
But there are 2 ways to adapt that would not be racist. Way number 1, adapt it in America, set in Japan with Japanese actors. That'd be fine. Or do a complete readaptation and take that core story and rewrite it and set it like in the 80s in Chicago. That would also be okay because you're changing the setting and you're localizing it. There's ways to do that. But if they did the former option and it was all white actors, probably at least unconsciously racist. I have no confidence this is going to come out, nor do I have any confidence that it's going to be good. And I really just want more Ghost in the Shell standalone complex.
Well, there's more Ghost in the Shell Arise we haven't seen.
I know, and I'm just going to wait until we can watch more of it in the theater like we did the other ones.
I think finally we're approaching the point where all those Evangelion movies are done. We can watch those.
Once 5.5555555 or whatever comes out, we're just going to marathon them all.
The Evangelion manga, I think, is also done. And
shit, son. Have you read any of that?
Viz has printed 3-in-1 volumes.
Did you ever read any of it?
I read the start. You can get... I think you can get all of it now in these 3-in-1 volumes from Viz.
Because that manga is really good.
So, and I think it's actually complete. Like,
you know what it's like?
It is finished, and there's not going to be any more.
You know what it's kind of like? You keep talking about the Gundam manga that's just like, you want to get the real deal?
Yeah, that's what the manga is.
Exactly.
Oh, by the way, Gundam the Origin, if you're not reading that, seriously.
Yeah, I got to read it. It's... I guess, well, you got to read the book club book.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got some brief news here. The Emerald City Comic-Con.
Probably the best, still actually a Comic-Con on the West Coast.
Yep, which already there's not a lot of competition in that in that space.
It's definitely, in fact, of all the Comic-Cons in the U.S. that are still Comic-Cons, it's up there. There's like, the competition is like Heroes Con in North Carolina, and...
I mean, unless you count things like Mocha and SPX, like that's it.
No, we're talking about the mainstream Comic-Cons, not the indie TCAFs and whatnots.
I mean, you don't want to go to, what was that stupid convention we went to in
Because, I
Philly?
mean, New York Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, C2E2, all these Comic-Cons that, are no longer about comics.
They use the new definition of Comic-Con, which means generic pop culture convention that you walk in and walk out in 4
hours. Of all the Comic-Cons that are still Comic-Cons, ECCC is like one of the top 3 in North America easily.
Yep. In fact, it's a Comic-Con I would go to if it weren't in Seattle and if I didn't already fly to Seattle once or twice a year for other conventions.
Oh, yeah.
Like if ECCC were the weekend before or after PAX, I'd probably stick around and go to it.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
It's worth it. It's the kind of thing it's definitely worth it to go to for a day.
Well, Reed Pop, known for running the awful New York Comic-Con, for running the okay New York Anime Festival and then destroying it, for somehow running all the Penny Arcade Expos and not destroying them, is now taking over.
Also the C2E2, also Star Wars.
Yep, Celebration. Which, from what I hear, they do a good job with that one, but Star Wars Celebration is basically a big expo kind of con anyway.
Yeah,
They're good at that kind of con.
Yep.
Reed Pop is basically good at running a certain kind of convention. It just
I think they do like
be,
Book Expo or
They
something.
do a lot of things.
They do some Wrestling Con or something.
It just so happens that the kinds of conventions they're good at running are the convention formats that I hate more than anything. So Reed Pop is taking over the Emerald City Comic-Con.
They just bought it? So the people who owned it sold it to them?
Let's see. Here's the Comics Alliance news.
Was it not for profit?
I did not fully
with?
research this because it happened very recently, like Dateline today. I was looking at this. Let's see. Reed Pop, blah, 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 blah. Emerald City Comic-Con is now a part of Reed Pop. Comics Alliance has confirmed that as part of the acquisition of ECCC, the director, John DeMonaco's, and his staff will remain not just blah, blah, blah.
Who's going to actually run the show?
So that's the question.
Which individual human being? Because I think Lance Fensterman runs the New York Comic-Con.
I hope it's someone at Reed Pop.
At least that's the last name that I heard.
There are people at Reed Pop that we know who you can trust to be awesome. And there are people you can trust to fuck things up. Not going to name names. I don't know who's dealing with this one. So we'll see. I hope this opinion I'm about to lay down doesn't anger anyone who's listening because we, go to PAXs all the time. In my personal opinion, the only reason Reed hasn't ruined the Penny Arcade Expos is because PA Corp and the PA people and the enforcers that were there from the early days actually make all the important decisions that matter, and Reed does most of the logistics and all the other stuff. I don't think that's the case with all these other cons. I don't think ECCC is going to remain a good convention.
Mm.
is my personal opinion.
Maybe, maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that PAX continues to remain awesome through everything. But we'll see what happens with ECCC. CCCC.
I mean, it is a big, convention hall convention.
It is.
It just happens to be a well-done one, just like Heroes Con is.
Yep. So will they shift it more toward being pop culture New York Comic Con SDCC style?
Yeah, because it does have a large percentage is comics.
Because I don't mind generic con. What I hate is Comic Con style generic con. I like at least have like Dragon Con or Kineticon style generic con.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be confused with generic con. But anyway, things of the day. I don't know if we ever talked about this on Geeknights, but Nina Paley has done a few awesome things on the internet.
Yeah, Nina Paley's this awesome person. She makes animations and other arts, and you might remember her from back in the day because she was like big into the Creative Commons action. There's a video you almost probably have seen where it's like, it looks like an old Mickey Mouse cartoon in black and white, and they're singing a song like, copying is not theft.
Yep.
Right? So she did that, and then since then, she's done a lot of other things and kickstarted a movie, and, she just keeps putting stuff out, and she keeps being awesome.
Yep, like she did Cetus Sings the Blues.
That's the movie she kickstarted.
Yep, and she's got another thing in the works. So my thing of the day is 2 of her videos because 1, they're kind of relevant to modern politics, and 2...
They're perennially relevant.
Yes, perennial is in fact the perfect word to use there. But 2, they both involve something amazing. So the kind of thing that I'm really into, personified death. Her personification of death is possibly the best personification of death the world has ever seen.
Should it have a fight with Birthday Advocate's death?
Oh, they're pretty good deaths. But look at that death face.
She should have a fight
Look at that death face right there.
Should he have a fight with Adventure Time Death?
Adventure Time Death is pretty good too.
I like it because Adventure Time Death, what I like about him is he doesn't have a human skull.
True.
Right?
Got that rat skull thing going on.
Yeah.
So you got to think of the day. Oh yeah. So her video number 1, This Land is Mine.
Mm-hmm.
It is a history of the conflict in Israel and Palestine from caveman days through today.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, the cool thing about the video is if you go to her page, she actually has a really long list of every single culture that's shown in the video and what their deal was.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, the death of the firstborn Egyptians, which will get stuck in your head and make you really depressed.
Good thing it never actually happened.
Yep. No, not the fact that Egyptians died in a mythical Christian past, because
It's a mythical Jewish past.
it's a mythical past of a lot of people. Anyway, these are both really good. Nina Paley's amazing.
All right. So, Rim, you ever had to change a flat tire on your bike?
I actually have never, since I switched away from mountain bikes, changed a flat tire on my bike.
But you've had a flat tire.
No.
No?
Not on my new bikes. I have not actually had a flat tire.
Well.
I got close.
Well, changing a flat tire
sucks.
It's doable, but it sucks. And it's kind of hard. You got to eat first.
Well, Scott, I just want to tell you, if it's a mountain bike, it doesn't suck. It takes 2 seconds. You can do it with your
It is way
fingers.
easier with a mountain bike with big fat tires.
Yeah, it is.
So, here's the process of changing a tire on a bicycle. First, you got to pop the wheel off. That's way easy.
Yep.
Then you got
Unless it's the back tire, you got to get the chain.
That's fine. It's still easy.
It adds another 30 seconds.
Whatever. Then you got to get the tire off the bike.
And
right?
you need specialized tools.
Off the rim. So mainly you just remove some air because it's flat anyway. It should have some air removed, right? And you use tire levers, which are you basically stick it in between the rim and the tire and sort of pop out the thing. And then you go whoosh in a circle, and basically now the tire is only half on the rim. Then you grab the tube that's broken and pull it out. Then you sort of partially inflate a new tube, stick it in, inside the tire, nice. Make sure it doesn't get crimped or anything. Then you got to wedge that tire back onto the rim, which is the hardest part. Then you got to reinflate it and make sure it's all 100% perfect and sealed and beautiful and everything.
Yep.
And then you got to put the tire back on the bike. So this is, even with the appropriate tools and everything, this is not a trivial thing to do with 2 hands as a human being. Also, then you have to reinflate it, which is really hard considering the fact that, well, it's super de-inflated.
Yeah, but like in the old days,
It's not like pumping it up like, oh, I lost a little bit of air.
When
it's
I
like, oh, it's empty.
for most of my life, I lived in a house.
Mm-hmm.
I could have the tools and equipment necessary to do bike maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I live in New York City, I pay other people to do all my bike maintenance because it's such a pain in the ass if you don't have all that equipment.
So in this video, you will see a person.
Oh, whoa, I just saw what this video is. Oh,
you
my
will
God.
see a person who is among the class of people known as ultimate badasses. He has no arms. Well, I guess he has some arm below the elbow on
He's got the elbow
on
joint
the left,
yeah.
but he doesn't have any hands.
Whoa, look at that bicep, Jesus.
And he doesn't have a right arm at all. But you don't need arms to ride a bicycle. But you might think...
All right, this guy's he's doing it faster than I could do it.
Let's in fast forward. But
No, he's doing it. If this video is 4 minutes long, I could not do it in 4 minutes.
Even in fast forward 4 minutes? Right, but yeah, he changes a bike tire with basically one arm, mostly using feet, teeth. The only advantage he has is that he doesn't have to pump because he has a little compressed air cylinder thingy.
That's what I would always carry with me mountain biking.
Yeah, I should get one of those.
Yeah.
And his tire lever is better than my tire lever because it attaches to the spoke in the middle of the tire.
Oh, I know what tire levers you bought. You bought the cheapest one on Amazon.
Yeah, the blue plastic one.
Yeah, the blue plastic one.
Right.
It comes with 3 of them.
The one that everyone has.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got the one that attaches to the middle of the tire and goes whoosh in a circle real easily. That's the only advantage he's got. Otherwise, super disadvantage, not having any goddamn arms changes the tire way easier than I can do it.
This is an amazing video.
And he needs to do this because basically he's taking long-ass bike trips, all by himself. He's got to be able to change a tire.
That is why I was into mountain biking where, if I had a problem, and I just, walk out or whatever, or I could just fix it trivially. But I didn't carry a lot of equipment with me. I don't do super long bike treks unless it's some sort of organized event where there's, following maintenance cars and things.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I don't have patience for this stuff anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, this video is really amazing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's a good bike, too.
Well, I mean, it's got to go really far.
Yeah. So, in the meta moment, the book club book is still Watership Down, the amazing story of a bunch of rabbits on an epic adventure, and it's a really good book.
Sploosh, water.
Oh, you're reading it now.
No.
Oh.
I read just as much. I haven't read anything since we last did a podcast.
Oh, because water plays a big... the rabbits...
I would hope so with the title.
No.
That there would be water, ships, and something going down.
Well, read your book. We are going to be, actually very soon... in San Antonio, Texas.
Next week.
And on Sunday, January 25th at 4:30 p.m. in the Armadillo Theater.
Right before the Omegaton finale.
We are going to be presenting Bad Games at PAX South, the inaugural
So bad.
PAX South. Otherwise, we have fuck all to do but play games, so come say hi.
And eat Texas food. And not get shot by Texas cowboys.
And then not too long after that, Friday, March 6th, at PAX East in Boston, we are presenting at least one lecture at 4:30 p.m. in the Bumblebee Theater. What is losing?
What is losing?
Well, come to our lecture and you'll find out.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And also, I've been thinking about this. I didn't ask Scott before the show. I'm kind of thinking maybe we should shift the show because it's been so long and do the news at the end and the main bit at the beginning.
Why?
Because our listeners the listener who's excited about the show already is invested. He's going to listen, whatever. But whenever someone who isn't a existing fan links to us for whatever reason, they're like, oh, they just reviewed that anime that I like. And then it's 20 minutes of us bullshitting about biking and living in New York. And also,
so they want to really listen to that review of that anime they like, and now we're introducing them to us. If they might just turn off after that review,
true,
and then not get to know us,
true. But I thought of a very specific UX case on this.
Mm-hmm.
So say I'm the listener.
Let's just make 2 MP3s then.
I thought about that.
We could do news episode. Main bit episode.
I had thought about doing that and having separate RSS feeds for a long time. Maybe we should when we
make two different shows. Geeknights bullshit. And
Geeknights Pure and Geeknights.
Would anyone listen to Geeknights bullshit? Or would people only listen to main bit Geeknights?
Yeah, let us know. We've been doing this for almost 10. Well, yeah, actually about 10 years now.
You want to change the format on the 10th year?
Maybe. And
Let's
we're,
just close the whole thing at the 10th year.
and we're thinking about doing a 10th anniversary special at some point that might involve a party in New York City. So,
Well, that's all you.
yeah, it is all me. If you would, sometime like 6-ish months from now, come to New York City to see a live show and have a party somewhere with us to celebrate the ridiculous time that we've been doing this show.
The ridiculous waste of our lives.
Then
10 years.
Just let me know, because if people are interested, I'm just going to fucking kickstart it. So, doesn't cost me anything to kickstart that. Kickstarter is just pre-order for badges.
You
All
could
right.
just use Eventbrite also, and then just give everyone refunds. If
Yeah, I could.
Yeah.
Or I could kickstart it just because. I found some venues. We'll see. Anyway, that's about it. I don't have any other meta. So, we saw a movie. Movie that most of you can't see.
Ooh, song I'm gonna see.
Okay.
Ooh,
So,
I make fun of the Irish people.
one of the many manifold benefits of living in New York City is that we see pretty much every anime or animated feature that's available to be seen in a theater.
That we want to see.
That
We're home to see.
Exactly. Like, I missed Princess Kaguya because I was out of town for something.
I think that'll be easy to see if you want to.
Yeah, it will be probably. But was I in Australia? I don't remember where I was.
I don't know where you were either.
So anyway, long ago, you may remember The Secret of Kells, which was a really beautiful movie that we really, really enjoyed. I'm pretty sure we reviewed it.
Yep.
Tomm Moores went on to now do Song of the Sea, which
Right.
is about Selkies.
So if you don't know, there was basically The Secret of Kells made by these people who were in Ireland. They're Irish, right? And it's sort of unusual to think of animation from Ireland. Usually you only think of animation from the United States, Canada, Japan, sometimes France, sometimes Korea. And there aren't really a lot of other countries that are known for their animated creations. I guess there's some old Russian animations that are interesting, but it's not like, oh man, have you seen that new Belgian animation? Yeah, have you seen that new Czechoslovakian animation movie? Wow, yeah. They don't really have big animation studios, in all these countries.
Or in the times that they do, they're very domestic or locally
Yeah,
driven
they're
and
not
consumed.
making full length, top production quality motion pictures, right? They may be making like a local, like Poland only TV show or Argentina only, movie or whatever, right? It's pretty rare. So when Ireland made Secret of Kells, that was a big fucking deal because, like, whoa, Ireland made a 90-ish full length, 90-ish minute full length motion animated feature that is top quality. Holy
And,
shit!
I mean, it was beautiful. It was drawn from like the aesthetic of old illuminations from like Christian manuscripts in the monasteries. It was nominated for Best Animated Feature that year, 2008, 2009.
Right. So when they made Secret of Kells, they didn't have mad monies.
And I read that there were production issues. So
I'm sure
Secret
there
of Kells
were.
was really good, and I really liked it. But it had some pacing issues, and it sort of meandered in the second half. But apparently part of that came out of them not necessarily having had enough money to finish it and a troubled production process. So now, armed with money
because it was so good, they got money.
armed with money and the faith of other people and everything involved, Tomm Moores went on to now direct Song of the Sea.
Song of the Sea.
We're not going to spoil anything, obviously, other than it's about Selkies,
Oh, you don't say.
the old myths of basically were-seals.
Yeah, it's Irish people, in Ireland.
Dungeons and Dragons players know who Selkies are.
It's cold in Ireland, and it's north, and it's surrounded by water because it's an island, and seals live there. So there's a lot of folk tales about people that turn into seals and back, and those are called Selkies.
Yep. So, this review aside, what I can say, and I think Scott agrees, I think this was the best movie I saw in 2014.
Well, I think it's the best. It's definitely the best movie I saw in 2014 that I hadn't seen before and came out in 2014.
Even of the movies I saw in 2014 that came out before 2014, I think it was the best movie I saw in 2014.
I think I saw Rear Window at least once in 2014 for like the 7th or 8th time. So I can't say that.
Yeah, I did not.
I had to put more stipulations.
But
Did I also rewatch Seven Samurai in 2014?
it is
Possible.
it far surpasses The Secret of Kells in terms of production, in terms of story, and everything. And The Secret of Kells was already super good.
Oh, yeah.
This is like saying, yeah, this is way beyond Ava.
Well, I mean, it's like they went from really good to yeah, now you got it, right? It's sort of like, wow, that person's really fat. You know, it's like they went in the Olympics, they came out of nowhere, they got like the silver medal, and it's like, whoa, good job, guys. We never even heard of you before, and you got the silver medal. That's crazy good.
And the next year, they're like, yeah, we need a platinum medal
The next
now.
year, it's like they're across the finish line and no one else even started yet. It's like, oh, okay, good job. You got it.
Now, what's cool is that, once again, it has a very, much like Kells, had this very sort of two-dimensional flat aesthetic, kind of based on the art that it was based on.
You can tell just by looking at it that it was made by the same people.
Exactly.
Even if it wasn't about something Irish.
It has a
Which it is.
consistent and beautiful color palette and aesthetic that fits
Right.
the story it's telling so well.
Yeah, they pretty much took all the green markers that they ran out of when they used Secret of Kells, and they started using the blue markers because they had extra.
And also, more importantly, Secret of Kells told a sort of meandering and melancholy story. It was almost, I don't want to say it was slice of life, because it did have like a hero's journey and all those aspects, but in a way, it was just this look at an era and a setting and a place and a mindset. Song of the Sea is not that. It is a very, very strong narrative that simultaneously is a very strong, like, internally consistent allegory.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much this like direct adventure tale, like just like most kids' movies are, you know, plot structure wise. And if you're an adult, you know everything that's going to happen in this movie after the first 5 minutes.
However, if you're an adult who's mostly used to Disney or American animated features, you will find the end and the sort of message and moral of the story to be deeply, painfully melancholy.
Yeah, it's not like, I mean, I consider it to be a happy ending, but it's not a happy Aladdin marries Jasmine ending.
No, it is a happy end that was resolved to the best that it could be. The world is moving on to another stage and era. Put old things to bed.
These problems that could be solved have been solved.
But they have been solved in a way.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, what other kind of solution did you want?
We'll talk a little bit about some of the what actually, if you already saw the movie.
All right,
toward the
so
end.
quick plot summary, right? So there's a family, happy Irish family.
Well, not a happy family.
They're happy at the beginning.
Okay, in the okay.
They live on an island
With a lighthouse.
with a lighthouse, which is pretty awesome, right?
Just like Pete's Dragon.
Yeah. Mom's a Selkie, bro.
Yeah. Oh, straight up, she's a Selkie.
Like, this is, and people are going to be like, oh, no, this is like for minute number 1, Mom's a Selkie, bro.
Yep.
Right? So,
Now they have a boy who's just a normal boy.
yeah, there's a son who's young, and Mom's pregnant with, I guess, a seal.
Yes.
I don't
So
know.
on the night that the young girl, the sister, is to be born, the mother essentially dies.
She goes into the ocean because she's a seal.
And now the movie
And all they have left is the daughter.
The
so,
movie actually begins effectively with a young boy who resents his younger sister for effectively killing his mom, which is actually a common tale both in literature and in real life. That is something that happens.
All right, so Mom's gone. She turned into a seal or died or whatever. And the sister's there. Brother doesn't like the sister. She's way older now. This is like at least 5 years after
Yes.
this opening
He resents
scene.
her for the mother's death, effectively.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, the father's life is in shambles, again, because of the mother's death.
Yeah, my wife turned into a seal and died and or disappeared. I'm upset.
Yep. And then from
Also,
there...
Mom was awesome because she was a Selkie.
And then
so it's
from
even,
there...
you have even, it's like, it's not just your wife. It's like your ridiculously awesome wife.
This is both... This is a tale of all of the major characters, every single one of them coming to terms with something.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very rarely have I seen a movie that has such complete character arcs for every character who has more than trivial speaking lines.
Yep.
Who does not have a complete character arc? The dog. The bus driver.
The fairy dudes.
Yeah.
But I guess theirs started before
well,
the movie.
Wait, the fairy dudes do have a complete arc because you get their arc through the past. I thought you were talking about the guy who drives the ferry, not the fairies.
Oh, yeah, fairy dude. Yeah, fairy dude also. But also hair dude.
Yeah.
Hair dude.
Hair dude. I like hair dude.
Hair dude's the best.
Oh, hair dude's on the cover here.
Yeah. I mean, he looks really cool. So
Yeah. But seriously, even if you hate animation and hate movies, you should go. There's literally no one this movie is not for.
Right. So basically, after, it fast forwards in time, there's an adventure of traveling across land and encountering things and learning and advancing, and then
And
the
the
end.
story follows these characters and also follows basically the sweep of Irish myth
Yep. Fairy people, Selkies.
from beginning to end.
Also commentary on modern things and whatnots.
So I cannot stress this enough.
Also beautiful animations and music.
The soundtrack is great. The voice acting is super great.
Well, the characters have voices.
Yeah, well, you mean all but one?
The dog.
He talks.
Woof.
Yeah.
Woof, woof.
I point out that
The owls. Woo.
Yeah, I like the owls a lot too. I like their little jars.
Woo.
Oh, the other thing
The
I
seals.
can say,
The seals.
I'm obviously kind of
The seals are definitely
here.
the best. End of story.
I like how the seals look like they're smiling by the way they're drawn. I think that's on purpose.
Real seals are like that too.
Yes, but the way they're drawn and the way they're presented in
Double
the scene
cute.
where they're bobbing, yeah. Well, I think triple cute then is the young girl, the Selkie, when she turns into a seal. Spoilers, I guess.
Oh my god. The Selkie's daughter is also a Selkie?
But
You
even
don't
cuter
say.
Then when she's a seal, when she's wearing her Selkie cape.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So go see the movie, and you might as well stop listening right now unless you already saw the movie.
It might not be the easiest thing for you to see right now because it's like in theaters and weird places, and there's a calendar. If you go search on Google, you can see the calendar, or Rim can link to it, and you'll see where it's playing in various countries and cities. But Secret of Kells was on Netflix like very soon after we saw it, so I'm sure this will be on Netflix, DVD, everything, etc. in relatively short order, like months, if not weeks.
Exactly. So see it as soon as you can. And now I actually kind of want to talk about what actually happens in the movie for the few people who might have seen it or if they come back later.
Okay.
So spoilers past this point. Stop listening unless you saw the movie. And I would actually say...
keep listening because it won't ruin the movie because the movie's 100% obvious to anyone intelligent.
However, it will change your perception of the movie.
I don't think so.
I think it will.
I don't think
Anyway, spoilers.
This movie doesn't even have surprises.
Spoilers.
Sure.
And you can go find the forum thread where everyone in the world argues with Scott about whether or not spoilers matter.
They don't.
Anyway, so I really liked the fact that pretty much every one of the kid does his adventure, but look at the back framing story. The story of, the fairy king, the giant guy who was turned to stone to take away his suffering, and how he is obviously the young
dad.
boy's father.
Yep.
And how the villain, the Baba Yaga in her Baba Yaga hut equivalent, the owl lady, is straight up the grandma. And the movie even
Well, when we went to see it, Tomm Moore was there, and he said basically that wasn't originally going to be the grandma, but then they changed it to make it that way.
Yeah.
And I think by making every single conflict along the adventure path into something that lined up with their real lives and real problems, that was really interesting because sometimes it's kind of similar to a Spirited Away, right, in that you sort of encounter these different monsters, or even Alice in Wonderland, right? She's encountering these different things along the way.
Yep.
And they have sort of a metaphor for real problems and other things, right, on this adventure, but this one is so direct without being overwrought at the same time.
The giant was turned to stone by his mother to harden his heart so he would not suffer anymore, mourning the loss of his dead lover.
And that is 100% what Grandma's doing.
Grandma is basically hardening the heart of the father whose life has become static because he can't get over the loss of his wife. And he's and basically the young boy is sort of stuck in the middle of all this and goes on his journey. But all of that, because there's no way in the real world when mom dies giving birth to younger daughter for that situation to be resolved happily or fairy tale like. You can't just bring someone back.
Yeah.
So recognizing that watching the movie and then realizing that the entire fairy adventure is a parallel to that, the beginning of the movie tells you that this does not end with all those fairies turned to stone being brought back to life. It ends with them all moving on. It ends with the end of the fairies.
Yep.
The end of an era. I said in the beginning when we were reviewing.
Also, can I just say, the fairies are totally badass.
Oh my god, the
There's
fairies.
that whole scene at the end where each stone fairy turns back into a fairy person or fairy ghost.
But the way
all the different fairies they made and how they were.
Look at how that scene worked.
And that
one of
one
them,
with the shield. Oh, my god, so
every
awesome.
one of those fairy stones, they didn't turn back to life. Like the ones who turned to stone didn't like come into bodies again. It was almost like their essence appeared. That animation, that whole end sequence, I was choking back tears the entire time. It was like a certain sweep in near the end of Madoka Magica, that montage.
You could also think of it as a sweep at the end of Evangelion was a million crosses going.
Yup. But like I said, this is the sweep of the fairies of Irish myth to the end. The modern era has supplanted them. The fairy world came to terms with the fact that it is dead. The Selkies came to terms with the fact that they are gone. The boy and his father come to terms with the fact that their mother is gone.
Well, his wife. The dad's mother's still there.
Yes, mother / wife. I could have framed that better, that sentence.
Yeah, even grandma, right? It's like the whole time grandma's just the bad person, right? She wants them to move to the city. You know, she's grumpy. She's not happy. You know, you get the idea that maybe she used to be cool, but she's not. And I didn't think at all that Grandma would turn good. I thought the happy ending would be just get away from Grandma. Grandma keeps being a crab in the city.
Well, what was Grandma's character arc? Was it possibly that she recognized how broken up the father was by it and realized that maybe she can't keep him static? She's trying to mold him into like this different type of father and this different type of family. And I think she realizes that couldn't work.
So she tries to do it herself. She's like, oh, you can't raise these kids properly. You're all crazy. You know, since you don't have a wife anymore, I'm taking these kids away. And he's so turned to stone, basically.
That he lets it happen.
He just lets it happen. He's like, all right, just go. You know, whatever.
Yep.
And he stops being the awesome dad he used to be. But it's like, you knew he was going to become an awesome dad again. But I didn't think Grandma would be, you know, I thought it would be one of those things where it's like, sorry, Grandma, I'm an awesome dad again. Bam. Instead, it was Grandma's nice again too. Yeah.
But in the very beginning, like you see the giant, like he's physically there. That rock is just this giant fairy turned to stone from ancient times.
Yep.
And it would be very easy to expect that in the end of the movie he wakes up and something, that might cause things to happen. But instead he doesn't. You just see the birds being disturbed by his spirit leaving.
Yep.
Deeply melancholy. That is, I can't think of a better word to describe the end of this movie than melancholy and hopeful.
The only other thing I gotta say is that for something called the Song of the Sea, there's a lot of metaphor of water going on, right? The kid is afraid of going in the water. He has to go in the well.
Yep.
The sister who's a Selkie, she's just like, whatever, I'm a seal, I'm going in the water.
But she's mute.
Yep.
She can't speak or sing. And the fairies are all held themselves in stasis because they need a Selkie to sing them, not to life, but basically to death.
Yeah, and at the end, he conquers his fear of the water to go down and get the Selkie coat at the bottom of the ocean.
Oh, he has 100% like the archetypical hero's journey.
Right. But even though there's all that water action going on, it has surprisingly little sea. It's mostly a journey over land for something that's called the Song of the Sea. There is a song of the sea, but there really isn't a lot of sea.
Well, because they have to get back to the sea.
Yeah,
there's like bring the song to the sea.
There's a sea at the beginning, and there's a sea near the end, and there's a little bit of water in the middle, but mostly land. And I was like, I thought this was gonna have fishies and be a little more Little Mermaid action going on, but there wasn't.
It was just, and the story, because of the allegory, it's so well paced and so consistent, beginning to end. I really like this movie a lot. I'm hard pressed to name better movies I've seen in years.
I've seen
movies that have come out in years.
I haven't seen.
Name a movie. What is the best movie that came out before Song of the Sea? Doesn't have to be animated.
I don't even know a movie that came out. Princess Kaguya? I don't know. That's all. Is that all I saw?
Yeah.
There's nothing else worth seeing. It's all garbage superhero movies.
I saw a lot of movies. There are good movies out there. Did you see Snowpiercer?
Actually, I just read it.
Yeah. I'm curious how close the movie is to the comic.
Well,
the movie.
I can't imagine making a movie from those comics. I have a feeling it's way
Scott,
different.
Here's how I would describe Snowpiercer the movie. It is like Robin Williams' Toys.
The comic is not like that.
Okay. That's interesting. But coupled with Wool. It is Wool the novel written like toys with Robin Williams.
There's a little bit of wool in there.
It's wool and toys,
There's some wool.
but no toys.
No toys.
Does anyone sing a song going over a bridge?
There's bridge action?
Is there a song that is all right? Fine. Is there a sushi dinner?
There's definitely eating.
Do
but-
they eat sushi
I think so.
in a normal Japanese sushi restaurant?
I think it's more like a train restaurant.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. I don't know what else I can really say because the movie speaks for itself, and I have nothing but unabashed praise for it, which you guys have listened to us a long time. It is rare that we give unqualified praise to anything.
Anything? I'm hungry.
I'm also really
Let's
hungry.
go eat some seal.
We'll wrap this
let's
up
not
with
eat
that.
seal. Let's eat something.
I don't want to eat any seal. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.
The Simpsons didn't do it that regularly.
They did it enough, right?
What season did The Simpsons do that? The Simpsons was a
I can
formulaic
find
sitcom.
you Simpsons clips of this.
Yes, I could too. What year were they from?
I don't know, but
Yeah, because this, Scott, was 1994.
Right.
I was in middle school.
anyways, what happened is, right, The Simpsons was basically the first mainstream, widely broadcast adult TV animation in the U.S. And it was so big.
Well, multiple critics say that this was the precursor to Family Guy on Wikipedia, so fuck you.
Whatever. So, from The Simpsons, right, because it was so successful, many, people tried to make animation for adults on U.S. television. And it eventually, over the 90s, was the biggest time of
This
it.
was a golden era of
Yes,
that.
the golden era was then.
Because remember, this
And
shit
then
was
now
on
it's-
prime time.
All right, and now, well, Simpsons is still on prime time
Yeah,
on
but back
Sunday.
then, a cartoon being prime time, not
Simpsons
common.
was originally on prime time.
Yeah.
So, but now today it pretty much has gotten to the point where only Fox does it other than Adult Swim.
Yep.
And that's it, right? So, none of the other networks even bother trying to compete in the animation realm for adults at night. And all Saturday, they don't even try for
All right,
kids
here's
either.
a quote here. Of all the projects completed by ex-SNL players, The Critic was the most fully realized, hilarious, and heartwarming. It took its cues from Woody Allen movies like Annie Hall in Manhattan and offered up a style of random abstract humor that wouldn't be seen again on television until Family Guy.
Mm.
So watching it, Emily, sort of unpointedly, without me saying anything, said, "Wow, this is like a good version of Family Guy." So that's why I was thinking about Family Guy. What's interesting, though, is that it makes a ridiculous number of pop culture references that I think would be lost on pretty much anyone who would watch this show again.
Yeah.
But it ends up working, much like how
Because
Shrek-
you know the references.
No, because I didn't even know a lot of the references because I don't know a lot of actors' names now. So why would I have known them in the 90s?
I know more 90s ones than
Yeah.
2000s ones.
Oh, like Arnold. That's also 80s. But what I noticed is that that stuff in The Critic was a lot like that stuff in Bugs Bunny cartoons, in Merry Melodies. There are jokes there if you recognize the caricatures of famous people, but if you don't, the jokes hold up on their own anyway, so it's fine. And if you're smart, you at least recognize that thing in the background is obviously a caricature of someone famous from that era. And you can infer something about them from the way they're handled.
Mm.
So The Critic, I don't know. I watched a bunch of it, and I'm going to watch all of it again. And it's really interesting to see how many modern animated comedy shows basically are taking a lot of cues from what was really pioneered, at least in the US, with The Critic, which didn't actually do that well. Didn't last that long.
No.
I also remember that John Lovitz existed. I kind of forgot about him, too.
What is he doing?
I don't even know. Is he alive?
I don't know.
All right, let's see. Born 1957, SNL. Wow. His summary ends with, did SNL until 1990. It's Wednesday, January 14th, 2015. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, Tomm Moores' Song of the Sea.
Ooh, the Song of the Sea.
You probably haven't been able to see it because you don't live in New York.
Ooh, the wee suckies.
Let's do this. So sometimes you get into those YouTube ghettos where like you click on a video and you watch it and then all the recommendations are the same thing. Like you've stumbled into
a meme.
Yep, an event horizon.
Like that do.
I don't even remember what that's called.
Me either, but
yeah, because I was looking for that the other day and I don't remember what that meme is called.
I'm sure
but you know
YouTube
what I
would recommend that to you just for being you.
So you'd think that, but it didn't. It's too old.
Just search for some related things and you'll find it.
I found crackle sauce and all the blank sauces again, but I didn't find that thing.
Okay.
But so I clicked on a clip that was a clip from The Critic because I saw it and I thought,
how many episodes
wow.
does that thing have?
How
many episodes does that show have?
The Critic?
Yeah.
The Critic
Not many. It only had like 2 seasons, right?
Yeah, 94, 95. And then I guess had some online stuff. So not that many episodes. 23 total.
Yeah, you can watch that really easily.
Yeah. So I click on this clip. That was just a clip from The Critic. And it was hilarious. And I remembered The Critic. And I remembered watching it. And it was the show that I just literally forgotten about in the modern era.
Yeah, that shit holds up. It's not forgotten about. Other people remember it.
I'm saying I had forgotten about it.
Oh, okay.
So Emily comes in and then it doesn't say anything else.
Did he just retire and go to the beach? Because good job, dude.
Trying to find that out. There's a lot.
You deserve it.
Broadway. He does a podcast, I guess.
Good job, dude. You deserve it.
Yeah. He's a funny guy. But so while I was watching all those critics, something else came up in the recommendations. Duckman.
That's another 90s adult TV show.
Duckman is pretty fucking forgotten.
Right.
So Duckman also almost holds up. And I'm going to talk about it separately because I'm going to watch a bunch of it and then talk about Duckman.
Duckman is somewhere in between The Critic, The Tick,
and like our Crumb.
LucasArts adventure games.
Yeah. So there was an adventure game for Duckman.
Oh, was there?
Which was supposed to be released in the U.S., but the production company went bankrupt. It eventually somehow got released in Germany and South Korea and nowhere else, and it is one of the rarest PC adventure games ever published.
I'm sure you can download it, no problem.
Yeah, I'm going to look into that. But what I can say is that watching Duckman, I had forgotten about Duckman, and I watched it like religiously when I was a little kid. So I started like unlocking memories in my brain as I watched this episode of like just what the deal was with this show.
The pig guy?
And the two-headed son.
Yeah.
And I also saw a lot of future Family Guy echoes, actually. In terms of, so the older brother in Family Guy reminds me of the older brother in Duckman. They even have the same kind of voice acting style. Then I'm like, hey, remember The Critic? And she was like, I never watched The Critic. So
I never watched the whole thing.
I did.
Okay.
I watched The Critic.
I've seen enough of it.
I watched it as it aired on ABC.
Wow.
I was really into it. I was really into like animation stuff in general. I mean,
yeah,
my family,
but I still didn't watch The Critic.
Why not?
It
was on like prime time.
I watched enough of it. I was doing other stuff.
I mean, I watched the original pre-Simpsons Simpsons.
Mm-hmm.
So The Critic, well, Emily never seen it, so I go look for an episode. And you don't even need to pirate it because every single episode is just on YouTube with a bunch of views and no one seems to care.
All right.
I don't think they're legit. They're mostly uploaded by a guy called The Critic Fan.
I mean, there's a Gundam channel that has legal Gundams on YouTube.
Yeah. It's always hard to say, though, because remember the whole Crunchyroll thing.
This one's definitely legal. It's like Bandai's channel.
So we started watching The Critic, and because I hadn't watched it since I was a little kid, I notice things nowadays that I didn't notice back then.
Of course.
So in my opinion now, this is kind of like a geek bite of the critic, having seen it again recently. One, it holds up real well. Like,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
really funny.
I could have predicted that.
But two, it's basically the precursor to Family Guy.
Well, no, I mean, so
No, so in terms of the style of animated comedy that the critic has, the critic was way ahead of its time. No other animated show did the kind of humor that it did. You know the Family Guy thing of, wow, that's just like the time I would ever, and then it cuts to like a complete non sequitur? The critic did that regularly.
The Simpsons did that regularly.